Hey everybody, welcome back. So in some of my other videos I had touched base briefly on psychosis and some common symptoms you can see as a result of it, like, hallucinations, paranoia, delusions. So in this segment I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that by talking about thought insertion and thought broadcasting. Yeah, I don't feel that thought insertion and thought broadcasting get covered quite as often as hallucinations or delusions or paranoia. But when you see somebody going into psychosis, their brain is starting to gravitate away from reality, which can cause these symptoms to kind of gradually start to onset. When you look at something like delusions, the reason why it can be so difficult to take somebody who has very fixed delusions and to kind of really reorient them away from those delusions is because they oftentimes will have things like thought insertion or thought broadcasting in addition to the delusions. Because normally you would think with delusions, because they are not supported by any evidence, they are false, very firm beliefs, you would think that a typical person, of course, would not believe these beliefs because of the lack of evidence to support it. But when you think of somebody having a very firm belief and you mix in something with it like thought insertion or thought broadcasting, thought insertion is, as the name suggests, you feel that the thoughts were inserted into your mind by another entity. Basically, you feel as if the thoughts aren't actually yours. So if the person has a very firm belief that they are on some secret mission, and maybe let's say this is a religious-based delusion, they may feel that this thought was inserted into their brain by perhaps a deity or another entity, based on the religion that these delusions are based off of. You can have people that feel that thoughts are inserted into their brain by aliens if they have delusions based off of that. You can also have somebody who they could be watching TV and they think the people on the TV are giving them some sort of secret message. Maybe only they can hear it, secret, can't tell anybody. So they think that these thoughts were inserted in their mind by the person because maybe the person can read their mind. So that in itself could make something like a delusion very difficult to kind of stray away from. Well, then when you talk about something like thought broadcasting, that really kind of mixes things up even more, especially if you are somebody who has delusions and let's say you have paranoia with it, because you could have these thoughts in your mind, you could feel like that they're very true because, you're not in your right state of mind, and you could feel that they were inserted by somebody so they can feel very important, like, well, I'm on some sort of secret mission, or I have to do this mission, only I can do it, nobody can know about it, it's top secret, But then if you do something like go shopping, if you have something like thought broadcasting, you have this belief that the people around you can hear your thoughts. And if you had delusions that you felt were very secret, like, you're supposed to go on this mission and no one was supposed to know about it, and then you think people can hear your thoughts, and that's going to make you very paranoid, very frantic, panicked, maybe even angry too. And this is also another reason why if somebody has very firm fixed beliefs, delusions, that they can be very difficult to kind of reorient the person as to why these aren't real, because they feel very real to the person. And then with the thought broadcasting on top of it, then they're convinced everybody can hear it, and then it's not a secret anymore. And sometimes when people are in psychosis, they can become very combative, they can become very aggressive, they can become very frightened because they're not in their right state of mind. So when you think of something like thought insertion or thought broadcasting, these can be, in some cases, early warning signs of psychosis, and that's why talking about these is so important, because obviously talking about hallucinations and paranoia and delusions in itself is already a very difficult thing to kind of explain to people, but it's very important to understand because these can already be early warning signs, or even just warning signs when somebody's already in psychosis. But then thought insertion and thought broadcasting, if somebody is prone to a psychotic disorder, these could be early warning signs, and getting very early treatment for psychosis is very important because it can escalate, it can get worse, and it can become very intense. And especially to this person's family, if they are not very familiar with something like psychosis, but maybe they can recognize some key symptoms like the thought insertion and the thought broadcasting, that can help this person if their relative is aware of this, they can help them get treatment sooner and help get this person to a more stable state of mind. So if you are somebody who experiences any kind of psychotic related disorder, or you know somebody that does, I really hope that this is something that can be very useful, because hallucinations, paranoia, and stuff is one thing. But when I first had heard about thought insertion, thought broadcasting, it's kind of one of those things that it can seem very subtle at first, but the more I kind of read on about it, it was kind of something that I'm like, why aren't people talking about this more if this is something that can be seen with psychosis? Because that's something that's already not very well understood. And knowing that there are people out there that experience this, it is very crucial to get them the help they need so that they can get better. And if it's something like medication compliance, hopefully we can get them back onto taking their medication again. Or even if it's somebody experiencing psychosis for the first time, that this can also help the person's future. They can recognize it in the future and they can get help. They can have some sort of plan in case this ever happens again to keep them safe. Because when you're in a state of psychosis, you can find yourself in very dangerous situations. You can end up places that you're not familiar with because maybe you kind of just took off running and, you know, maybe people were looking for you to try to help you and maybe they kind of lost sight of you. I mean, you could have people that try to take advantage of you, and of course, if you're in a state of psychosis and if you're somebody who gets combative or very frightened and people don't know that you're in psychosis, that can make treating you very difficult. And that's why raising awareness on mental illness is so important, because this stuff is more common than people think it is, and it does need to be discussed so that people can get the help that they need, the treatment they need, really erase stigma and build a world where mental illness is better understood, better outcomes. As sad as it is, there have been people in situations like psychosis who have lost their lives because they've been in dangerous situations or because people didn't know they were in psychosis and they didn't know how to help them. And maybe the person didn't know they were going into psychosis either and they didn't know how to help themselves. And had they known, maybe the outcome could have been better than what it was. So anyway, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video for anybody who's watching, and I do hope that this is vital information that people can use. If you think that somebody is experiencing psychosis, you know, don't feel free, you know, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to try to help the person because they can be very sick and not be aware of it. So, until next time, have a great day, guys.